Right, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure seeing you here. Can you hear me? Okay. Today I figured out what actually Washington, D.C. stands for, which is for Wialon. Now, the next thing I'm guessing to learn is what AC/DC stands for. And I'm sure that very soon we'll learn about that. And this year, we'll bring a new, fresh collection of the cases from the already gathered huge number and library of the cases that we have. And it's very interesting to see that each year we have cases that were implemented in one part of the world, for example, in Latin America, and after our conference, they would find life in another part of the world, in Muscat, for example. We share all this during this conference, and today I will be presenting this with my colleagues, amazing colleagues that I would like to present. Denis Grebennikov, CIS Business Development Director. Yep. Esteban, Head of Business Development, Latin America. Sergei Leuchanka, Sergei Leuchanka.
Hey.
And powerful but gentle and nice Olga, Head of Business Development, Europe.
Thank you, Sasha.
And I'm really pleased to give the word to my colleague, Denis Grebennikov, to start with the first case.
Thank you, Alexander. Guys, shall we sit?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, when it all started, Wialon and other telematic solutions were regarded as a tool for vehicle monitoring. That is for fuel control, position control, and things like that. Since that time, telematic solutions in general, and Wialon in particular, had made a huge step beyond this functionality. But lots of our partners are on that old page still, not using system as full. Having customers' vehicles connected to the system and providing him with the access to it, they believe their job to be done. Truth is that in most cases it isn't. Company owning a fleet usually faces lots of different business issues where Wialon not only applicable but can improve picture greatly. I'd like to present you a case which was a project which was implemented by one of our Ukrainian partners, UMT company. Their customer had already some system implemented, but wasn't satisfied with its functionality and service. Also, they had some additional requirements on additional automation of their logistics, and this functionality current system was unable to provide. So this customer decided to switch the system, and out of 5 different companies, they chose our partner UMT to be a full solution provider. So what the requirements they had? This company owns its own petrol station for corporate fleet. And processes of this petrol station weren't organized the perfect way. To start this, they were registering all fuelings manually on paper. It's 21st century, manually on paper. It took lots of time, mistakes were common practice, and certainly a person in charge for those registration had lots of abilities to manipulate data and to steal the fuel. And in addition to that, one of the fuel pumps was out of order. On the first approach, it looks like an easy task, because all you have to do seemingly is to integrate Wialon with their current petrol station control system. Then you can get all the data in Wialon, and that's it. But the fact is that they had quite old petrol station, with quite old fuel pumps, and they just don't have such a system in place. So this customer had a choice either to get some more sophisticated fuel pumps, which is quite an expensive solution, or to have them upgraded somehow. So our partner came up with a solution, including upgrading these fuel pumps, solving all tasks listed, and under the budget, which is significantly less than... I didn't push nothing. What's up? Who did it? Please don't, gentlemen. I do it myself, okay? Our partner came up with a solution which allowed to solve all tasks listed and under the budget significantly less than changing of pump will require. So what they did, every fuel pump was equipped with RFID reader, with flow meter, with control keyboard, LED display, power unit to feed it all, and with a simple device to send all data to Wialon. They use simple GPS tracker for this. Every driver got RFID card, so in order to get fuel, all they need to do now is to authorize with their card and type amount of fuel required on the keyboard. Every truck in its turn equipped with FLS, and now it is possible to get all necessary information through Wialon and to see the difference between fuel shipped and fuel received by the truck. So now they can see all picture transparent, they can see all differences, and another thing, time spent for these registrations, for these operations, was minimized by 90% by excluding all manual operations. Right now, they are still working on it. Right now, they are going to add an option to set fuel limits for every card in order to manipulate all these fuelings remotely without necessity for driver to type it. So I believe this project is a good example of deep Wialon implementation, going far beyond simple fuel control, as you can see it. And as you can see also, Wialon allows you to create unique solutions, and being unique allows you to go far beyond any competitor's reach and leaves your customer with no choice whom to work with, and that can be bad. And now I'd like to pass the word to Esteban.
Thank you, Denis. So, as Denis was saying, and as I'm sure that all of you here already know, given that you're here, is that Wialon gives you the capability to go far beyond just basic tracking. It goes far beyond just tracking a truck and knowing where it is and following the panic buttons. So Denis talked about a deep implementation. I'm going to talk about a shallow one, but let me explain myself. So compared to Denis's implementation, mine is rather simple. However, the emphasis in this implementation comes from the capability of applying all the tools that we have in telematics to a number of markets that sometimes are already there, are already eager to receive all this technology. And we just have to open our eyes and step into them and offer our solutions to those opportunities. Today, this morning, Olga was talking about how inspirational all the work you guys do. And these cases are just things that we gather from around the world and share with you from all the amazing work that you do. This is a case that comes all the way from Costa Rica, from Latin America, my region. So let me tell you a little bit about Costa Rica so that you understand how this works. In Costa Rica, buying a cell phone can be a quite expensive thing. So people have to think twice before choosing the right one. Our partner in Costa Rica, in the city of San Jose, decided to offer his services to a company that was involved in the sales and distribution of cell phones. So what were the challenges that they were facing? They had to prevent the theft of valuable merchandise and, if possible, recover the merchandise that was stolen. In this case, we are talking about valuable cell phones. However, in Costa Rica, to be able to sell a cell phone, you have to allow these people to have a trial. So many of the stores that sell these cell phones have real cell phones in the storefront available for trial. People walk in, they will try them, they will get the experience and the feel of it, and they will know if it's the right fit for them or not. However, this is quite risky because the valuable merchandise is prone to be stolen, and that happens a lot. So thank you. So what our partner in Costa Rica decided to do was use WiaTag as the tool to prevent these thefts, and also to recover the merchandise. So these trial cell phones that were at the storefront had WiaTag installed, and it was actively reporting. So what happened was that the thieves, whenever they went and got the cell phones and tried to get away, they were unawarely taking their own trackers. They were revealing their positions, and they were telling the police, actually our partner who told the police, where they were located and where they were going. The implementation, as I said, is rather simple. It was just about installing WiaTag in these cell phones at the storefront. However, there was a secondary security measure. So if the thieves are professionals, there's also a hidden tracker installed in the vault. So if they take the vault, they take the safe, they're taking another tracker with them, and they are also revealing their position. And whenever one of these cell phones leaves the store, we get a geofence notification. Our partner immediately tells the police, and so the police can get involved and recover the stolen merchandise. The results speak for themselves. It's just been a couple of months, and in these few months, they have recovered more than $30,000 in stolen merchandise. So that's a lot of money for just a couple of cell phones at stores. So the learning of this implementation is that there are so many opportunities that are so easy to implement, so easy to get, that sometimes we just overlook them, and they are there. So we have to open our eyes, we have to think out of the box, and we have to try to secure those opportunities, try to use them, try to expand the telematics market to wherever it is relevant. However, just a small advertisement, if complex implementations are your thing, then please join our workshop after lunch on complex Wialon implementations. We will also have time to talk about those. And with that, I pass it on to our charming Olga Filonchuk.
Thank you, Esteban. Eco-driving is a universally acknowledged functionality that has been widely approved and used in many countries of the world. It can save both companies' money and people's lives. And today I'm going to speak about a project which was implemented by our partner from Myanmar for Puma Energy, which is an international oil and gas holding. And Wialon with eco-driving played there a key part. The main challenges of the end user were related to the fact that they were using a simple tracking solution and started to experience cases when their trucks got into horrible car accidents. It's actually hard to imagine, but just recently Puma was having a platform where they could see just speed, position and idling time, and did not have any high expectations to a tracking solution. At the same time, they own a huge fleet of 30 tons Nissan gas trucks that transport huge volumes of fuel every single day. And naturally, they started to experience cases when their trucks rolled over, exploded, and caused many deaths on the roads. Not to mention that the company itself was losing an enormous amount of money. It's approximately $150,000 per each accident. And again, people died in those accidents. I think some of you might have heard that approximately 2 weeks ago, a similar case happened in Italy. Maybe some of you even watched this horrible video on YouTube when, again, the gas truck exploded and people did not survive. So this company from Myanmar, Puma Energy, was having the same issue. Fortunately, our partner was able to step in and to help Puma Energy with a nice implementation. And the implementation, again, consists of eco-driving module, GPS devices, RFID tags and readers for driver identification. And again, also our partner managed to get Wialon integrated with a corporate system called Puma IVMS, thanks to Wialon API and SDK. The company chose to use CAN bus data to analyze driving behavior. They took such parameters as speed, gear shifting, harsh braking, harsh acceleration, and also fuel consumption as a cherry on a Wialon pie. Besides, the company paid specific attention to the speed itself. They took it both from CAN bus and from the GPS tracking device, and the device was sending data every single second. It was their way to ensure that they have the most accurate data possible. And again, at the last stages of the project, they implemented Wialon with Puma IVMS, thanks to Wialon API and SDK. Now, Puma officials can generate custom-made reports in their own system based on the data from Wialon. Thanks to the project implemented, the number of car accidents has been reduced drastically. However, life is life. And just recently, Puma driver got into an accident when the truck rolled over, exploded, and caused 6 buildings next to it burn down completely. Naturally, the Puma driver was accused of this tragedy because of the company reputation. However, thanks to data from Wialon, Puma officials and our partner were able to prove that there was a different truck and a different driver who was not associated with Puma in any way that provoked the accident. Thus, the fine name of the company has been restored, and our partner also received a nice promotion on a national TV. Not to mention that now they have even more chances to make this world a better place. As we can see, a simple fact that your end user is having a basic platform does not mean that their needs are actually basic. It could be that they simply have not realized what their true needs are, and a bold integrator would always do his best to find their major pain and will relieve it with a complex and quality solution like Wialon. So I wish you all like same projects, and I'm sure Aliaksandr will also be able to tell you even more about his experience from Middle East.
Yes, thank you, Olga. I'm really excited because the next application or next solution comes from our nice partner from Lebanon, and it combines the easy technology on the one hand, as was mentioned by Esteban, but also makes some additional things to find a refined solution. So the residents of Beirut know that traffic is a nightmare. And according to the census of 2017, the World Bank study, 81% of the Lebanese prefer using their own cars, with only 11 using vans and 6 other types of transportation. Besides, there is a problem with the parking. After 9 a.m. in the morning, you cannot park anywhere, and the paid parking costs around $7 per day, which multiplied by every day would not everyone can afford. This case is also interesting because it unites the efforts of the young thought of the young people and the experienced team of Gurtam Partner. So a young team of people of 19 years, they took part in a competition in which they were proposed to find one problem and tackle it with a solution. So they not only won the competition, they also got $10,000 for the implementation. And they turned to our partner for the actual way of improving the problem. The problem was about the public transportation. And the public transportation in Lebanon faces some issues. There is not too much innovation, but the company, our partner from Lebanon, WiaTag, they managed to take the technology of Uber, basically. So they created an application that is called Yellow Bus. That is allowing you to indicate your location. It shows the buses that are near you and allows you also to book the seat on the bus and to pay for it. So all of these things were combined together. Besides, when solving the problem, they tried to provide a solution that would enable not only the user-friendly interface for the passengers, but also for the operators and drivers. So they have several interfaces that work together in a combined fashion. And all of this was done thanks to the use of the developments based on the Wialon API. Well, the result is clear. For a country that has such a demand, it solves the problem of pollution, plus makes public transportation something that is not only available but popular with the people. People are able to save costs on the commuting to work and back, and makes Beirut a much more beautiful city than it is always. And that's the case. I would like to pass on the word to Sergei Leuchanka, and he'll speak about the US opportunities. Thanks.
Thank you, Aliaksandr. So my case is about a potential sales channel for you guys, and that sales channel is the vehicle repair shops, and I'll explain to you how this comes together. So imagine the end user fleet that you already sell into with, let's say, 10 vehicles. Every month, these guys incur hours of lost productivity due to the need to plan, on one hand, plan all the maintenance work that needs to be done on those vehicles, such as oil changes, tire rotations, getting the vehicle into the shop for some minor fixes, etc., etc. And then also, you know, getting those vehicles into the service, right? That all takes away from utilizing those trucks for the business need. So imagine that instead of having to plan for this activity and then you know, executing on it, the repair shop itself keeps track of all the maintenance needs and comes to the customer location to perform that service. And so that's generally, you know, would be, assuming the cost would be comparable to use this type of service, it would be much more attractive to those trucking companies. So the implementation was done by one of our integrators in the US. And so this is how it works. So essentially those auto repair shops that they get trained on Wialon, the tracking devices are provided. Then the auto repair shop installs the tracking devices into the vehicles of the companies that they service. They set up all the necessary views in Wialon as far as the reports and notifications, and actively track when the vehicles needs to be serviced. Whenever the time comes to perform the service, they dispatch a mobile technician that comes to the customer location, performs the service, and usually they try to schedule it in a way when to do that when the vehicles are not utilized. And from there, there's obviously a natural sort of upsell into providing those companies with GPS tracking as a service. So as a result, what we get is that for the repair shop, the business is significantly expanded and also differentiated relative to the companies, the repair shops that go traditional way. As well as the customer, there's a huge improvement on the customer satisfaction that are, you know, there's definitely this type of service would be very, very welcome. And I imagine there's no country out there that does not have a vehicle repair shop. So, you know, that's why it might be an interesting channel for you guys to look at. And, as a workshop advertisement here as well, we will have a workshop at 5 o'clock to talk about various sales channels, including this one, and it's going to be in Business Room 4. So if you guys are interested, please join us. So this has been the first round. We're waiting. We're going to do the questions after the second round of cases, right? Okay, so I will pass it back to my colleague Denis for the second round of cases.
Thank you, Sergei, for excellent case. It's very interesting. We'll talk about it later. The following case I'd like to tell you about is a good example of collaboration between different telematic market players working together on the same project. The customer is a big Russian company owning a fleet of 800 vehicles, and these vehicles perform around 100,000 trips a year. We met this customer during this year's Navitech Expo. At the moment, they were using a monitoring system provided by a vehicle manufacturer. Cost of such system is usually quite high, at least in Russia it is so. So they started to think about changing the system. Also, they got an idea of expanding their fleet with vehicles of our manufacturer. So all this led them to idea to think about switching the systems, and that's why they came to Expo. But they had one more requirement, and important one. They need to keep every single bit of functionality they have now as a current solution. We weren't ready to sacrifice functionality for the price. As we usually do, we forwarded this request to one of our partners with good experience and technical expertise. This partner in turn invited hardware manufacturer to participate. And I'd like to tell a little bit about the system they had. This system, their current system, is actually a flexible tool allowing to analyze fleet operation through preset scope of parameters, such as stops, idle time, distance covered on cruise control or while coasting, path brake with jake brake or with handbrake, amount of speed violations, amount of harsh break-ins. Also, they required lowering risks of accidents and unscheduled repairs. And additional task they had, integration with their current ERP system. So this is not an easy task to approach, right? So our partner invited our hardware manufacturer to take part. This particular hardware manufacturer specializes on CAN. To put it simply, what they do, they adapt firmware of their devices in order to be connected to vehicles CAN directly without additional equipment involved. And the other thing they have, they developed their own software solution to parse CAN data. And so, with help of our partner together, they adapted these devices for vehicle this customer had, and they're able to get necessary data directly through their devices to Wialon in order to have it in reports online and as usual. Also, they integrated their solution with ERP, and right now they are working on implementing our eco-driving to work with speed violations and harsh break-ins. Right now, this project, by the way, yes, excuse me. This is a slide. Right now, this project is in its active stage. They just finished pilot project. They were able to get 16 different parameters from CAN, such as position of throttle pedal, of brake pedal, cruise control mode, state of handbrake or jake brake, and things like that. But on this early stage now, customer had seen Wialon in action and made sure that Wialon allows to cover all functionality required and under the budget, which is significantly less than they pay now. And I'd like to note one more time, this customer wasn't ready to sacrifice the functions, to sacrifice quality. And our partner, using Wialon, and together with hardware manufacturer, were able to meet these requirements. I believe this example shows us that creative approach, thinking out of the box, and collaboration between different players, between different participants of this telematic market allows you to achieve much more than you might think when beginning to working on the project. With that, I'd like to pass the word to Esteban with another interesting case, actually my favorite one from Latin America.
Thank you, Denis. So, as Denis said, this is also a case from Latin America, and we'll pick up right from we left with the previous case. So as you might remember, we were talking about thieves stealing stuff. Well, this is what happens after they get caught, right? So this is a case that comes from Mexico, and it's a very interesting case for a number of reasons, and we're going to go through them. But what we should all bear in mind is that handling thieves, handling penitentiary systems all over the world in any country is very expensive. As it is very expensive, it's a huge business opportunity. And how is it that this can become a business opportunity maybe for us? Well, it's not only something positive for us, it's going to be great for us, for the governments, it's going to be great for our fellow countrymen, because bringing telematic solution into this area can be very positive for the society as a whole. And I'm going to tell you in a second just how. So this was happening in the county of Nuevo León. Nuevo León decided to run a pilot test to see what happened if they had 500 prisoners that they would have sent directly to jail if they took them into house arrests. So the idea behind this was that house arrest has a number of benefits. A house arrest can save up to 70% of the cost that government spends on each offender. So as you can see, it's a huge saving. However, the challenges that they were facing, what they were trying to do in this pilot test was just to work with 500 minor offenders, like the guys that stole the cell phone or that do some minor offenses that are not such a huge threat to society, and that the county was very much interested in trying to bring back to society once their time is over. So they wanted to try to have them in house arrest situations, but be very secure and be very sure that they would control them, that if they tried to escape, they would be captured, and that they posed no threat to society. So this was the real challenge that they were trying to do. Please move on. So how did they go about facing this challenge, and how did they solve all of these problems? Well, they used an ankle bracelet that has a GPS device and also has an RFID tag that actively reports. A beacon is placed in the house of the offenders, and the bracelet, the latch, has a fiber optic latch, so that if at any point the prisoner wants to tamper with it, it immediately sets off a notification. If by any reason the prisoner, the offender, decides to try to test the system and see what happens if he walks outside of his house, the bracelet would automatically vibrate, letting him know that he has trespassed his geofence. So the implementation, as you see, is also rather simple. It also has a geofence notifications. It also has LBS as a secondary location source, just in case. But the solution is rather simple, as you saw with the previous case. However, it is very interesting because it brings a number of benefits to our society. Let's move on to the rest. So, as I said before, the district saves up to 70% on each of the prisoners. The 500 prisoners are securely controlled. They have been doing this for several months. So far, there have been no runaways, so it has been effectively implemented. But the most interesting part is that the house arrest is a much more healthy condition for these minor offenders. What usually happens in our penitentiary systems is that the people that go in don't get better, they get worse. And when they go out worse. And what we're all trying to do, as Olga was saying this morning, is create a better world. And I think that with telematics and with all the solutions that we are implementing, we're on the good side. We're the good guys. We're bringing things to the world that are really making it a better world. So bringing these types of solutions that will help get the prisoners back into society and play a healthy role in our societies is just great. And much better if it also comes with savings towards our government's expenditures, if taxpayers' money is not wasted on useless systems that do not work, and also if out of all of those benefits, we can also get a small portion of that benefit in terms of returns and money for implementing these solutions. So again, this is another case that doesn't have a mind-blowing implementation, but is very interesting because it's something that every country, I'm sure that you guys come from, is in need of solutions of this type. So it's just a matter of investigating, opening our eyes, reaching out to the right people, and trying to offer these solutions to make different businesses. So with that, I'll pass it on to lovely Olga Filonchuk.
Thanks again. So the next project I'm going to speak about is a complex one, and actually it was implemented by one of the partners in this room, Costa Engineering from Bulgaria. Daniel Kitin is the technical brain behind it. Please give a small applause to Daniel. Daniel has been contributing greatly to the society and has been sharing his technical expertise many years in a row. I hope we could all follow this amazing example and do the same. So let's get back to the project. It was implemented for one of the largest coffee producers in Tanzania and is related to monitoring fuel in stationary tanks which are located in the center of a coffee plantation. The stationary tank is located in the middle of the plantation and it has 25 tons of fuel inside. And normally it's used for filling up the agricultural vehicles and the irrigation system itself. The main challenges of the end user could be also treated like specific tasks in that kind of project. Certainly they want to reduce fuel consumption. They also wanted to plan fuel purchases because fuel should be bought in advance and brought to the plantation. And then they wanted to keep track of the whole fueling process. They wanted to know who is responsible for what and at what period of time. So again, as I mentioned, the implementation is quite complex. It consists of many stages. I just mentioned a few of them on this slide. And if I say something wrong, Daniel will correct me. So the tank itself is equipped with a pump, and pump is working on a solar battery, with a battery and also with a digital display from Omnicom. One could see the fuel level inside the tank before and after the filling on this digital display. The difference between the fuel in the stationary tank and between the fuel level in the tank of the car, which has been just filled up, could not be more than 1%, otherwise it could be treated as a theft. Moreover, the tank is equipped with a GPS device and with a 3-meter-long fuel level sensor from Omnicom, which you could actually see in this picture together with Daniel. Just have a close look. Drivers were asked to use I buttons so they could be identified in the system. Once the I button is activated, the system will send the command to the device and the device will activate the pump and the fueling process. So everything is pretty much automated and it's quite clear who is doing what. Besides, once the filling up process is finished, it will be registered as an event in Wialon. Besides, for the fuel level sensor, there was water level sensor, and if the water level was above a certain point, it could be pumped out from the tank. Where does the water come from, some of you may ask? I think that many African partners here would confirm that sometimes fuel quality in Africa and in Tanzania could be so poor that it's mixed with water, which is why it's critically important to clean the fuel to make sure your own vehicles can actually last longer. So, which is why there was a water level sensor installed, and it sent data to Wialon. If the parameter indicates that the water level is too high, the system will send a command to the device and will activate the pump again. Except for all of that, surely the end user had access to the monitoring panel of Wialon. They also had access to sensor data, and they were able to see how much fuel is left. They paid attention when the pump was activated, how long it worked, and who was doing the filling process. So after this project has been implemented, the end user says that they were able to reach 25% reduction, at least according to the documents. You never know in Africa. And surely now they have a full transparency of what is going on. They know how much fuel is left, when they need to buy more fuel, when they need to bring it to the plantation, and stuff like that. I do love this project because that's a complex one, and even though there are many features in Wialon, there are many capabilities, amazing functionality, sometimes a complex project would require the same complex approach from an integrator. All those features, they're like pieces of the puzzle, and one would need to have an open mind to make all those pieces meet into one picture and provide a quality solution. I do hope that all of us will be able to do that one way or another. And on this note, I would love to pass the word again to Alex.
Thanks, Olga. I'm really glad that our conferences help us move further and break stereotypes. Some people sometimes tell me, okay, so they all ride camels there, and I say, yeah, and they ask how your parents live with this bear in Russia. So for sure it's not true, and I'm very glad that the partners in the Middle East are actively developing very complex solutions, and they're not afraid to take chances with SDK. Again, this is a nice case that is coming from Kuwait, and this was already presented as an application that is called Zitat. But Zitat is an end customer, and the partner that is doing that is a different company, SpaceLink from Kuwait, and they're also here. I'm glad that they're here. It's again a great opportunity to see you guys. So normally when we speak about delivery service, we would go with logistics, but in this case the application, Wialon found a little bit different application with another own delivery service. So Zitat is an online ordering platform that is working with different food chains, with catering companies and groceries around Kuwait. So it's a big one. And because they're big, they have a huge fleet of different types of vehicles. So when implementing this project, naturally the team came with a solution of using WiaTag. And it's interesting fact, but it is really based on WiaTag. The problem was that they had to connect more than 500 vehicles of different types, vans, motorcycles, to get them together. So instead of collecting them and installing devices, they tried to offer WiaTag because there was an interesting case before where they used that. Then also the provider, or Zitat, they wanted to track the units online, to have the data online, but also they needed historical data. The previous platform did not allow for that. They only could provide some data that is online. One more thing that was challenging was that all this data should be flushed to Zitat order processing system. So, and as you naturally can understand, Wialon found the solution here as well. the implementation appeared to be easy in terms of solving all these challenges. So instead of the tracking devices, they used WiaTag application. They used Wialon API in order to provide for the integration with the order system. And using the platform, now they gave the opportunity to the dispatchers and to the managers in the company to create orders, to track what's going on, to have reports on trips, and to use notifications in order to automate the procedures. It's interesting that now, by using this application, both the company and the users have the possibility to enjoy their favorite dishes using the application that they have already been using. So that's what I want to underline. So a competitive solution might have a much weaker backend for which you can propose your solution. And now they have all of this. And just again to say, to show the importance of the project, that is an application that is working with a variety of outstanding restaurants and food chains such as McDonald's, for example. And so basically the use of the solution is guaranteed by the use of the application that is already popular. So thanks, guys, and I would like to pass on the word to Sergei again, and the United States of America.
Thank you, Aliaksandr. So my second case has also a very potentially large addressable market, and that market is restaurants, bars, and food trucks. One of the common needs that exists in the industry right now is the need for the effective monitoring of the temperature in walk-in fridges in the restaurants and bars, as well as refrigeration units in the food trucks. And that needs to be done to ensure food safety. And because with certain food types, even a short-term increase in temperature can cause food spoilage, and as a result, a potentially very large legal exposure and, of course, lost profits. So this solution that I will tell you more about is based on the implementation of the CalAmp TTU 2820 tracking device that runs a custom script to accommodate multiple temperature sensors. And this solution has been implemented by our partner called Direct Communication Systems in the United States, who also happen to be a very large distributor for CalAmp devices, and through them it's also possible to brand the devices to your company's name. The front end of the solution is designed around the Sensilator app that we have. The several nice gauges are created to make sure you focus on the things that are important in terms of making sure that the temperature that you monitor stays within the acceptable range, as well as various notifications and reports which are set up through the Sensilator, again, to make sure that you don't miss any important critical drops or increases in the temperature. As a result, as a business owner of a restaurant or bar or a food truck, you can be much more confident that the food that you sell is safe, and that means happy customers, and of course, you being safe from any ramifications of violating various rules and regulations regarding temperature control. And given that non-compliance oftentimes can cost you thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, this solution can pay for itself many times over. And of course, there's less food spoilage that puts more money into your pocket as a business owner as a result. So that concludes our cases. So with this, I think we have some time to take your guys' questions.
Okay, good. We don't have any questions from the chat, surprisingly. But you can raise your hand and ask any questions about any project. You can figure out what you want, and I'll tell some words about it. You asked about the questions with how to prevent thefts of TVs and other electronics, and how to prevent thefts in car rental and leasing companies. I would like to present you one of our partners from the Russian company, actually, Avantern. Dmitry Chislov, please raise your hand. This is the company that specializes in this anti-theft and safety and security solutions, and they can give you the answers on these projects, like stolen mobile phones, laptops, and TVs, and stealing cars from car rental companies. So if you have any other questions than these that I've already described in WhatsApp chat, please raise your hand and ask.
We explained everything perfectly, so
yeah,
no questions.
You're so perfect. It's great. So, okay, good. So, guys, thank you very much. It was great teamwork and even greater content of this presentation.